All right, let's do it. So welcome, everybody. This is the 5th live sales development conference, and I'm so glad that you made the effort to be out here. Give yourself a round of applause for coming out. And we're talking about evolution today. There's a lot of crazy stuff happening in the marketplace, especially in the sales development world. And we know that, we live that every day. You see it in your feed. And we're going to figure out today, how do we get to the next step and push the practice forward? So we couldn't have done this, as Wesleyne mentioned, without the support of all the sponsors. So big shout out to the Shift Group, Coach CRM, Lead IQ, Zoom Info, and Reprise. Amazing tools, and all the gold and silver sponsors. We put the coffee in the expo area and the meeting tables. Go back and talk to everybody and make sure that you connect. I want to introduce the secret of sales development. Who wants to learn the secret of how to do sales development today? Anybody? Yeah. No? Oh my God, wait. Oh, thanks, man. Now, I talked about this last year at the conference, but in the meantime, we've worked with hundreds of different sales development reps, managers, and directors here at Tenbound with the advisory team, and we kind of codified this into, I tried to come up with something like BANT or MEDIC or something easy to remember. This is the best I could do, okay? It's HEARER, and we're hearing the marketplace and what it needs. I know, everyone was giving me a hard time about that. But it's essentially the scientific method applied to pipeline generation. And if you're here right now and you're trying to figure out the marketplace, who wants more pipeline and more revenue? Anybody? Oh, got one, definitely. Okay, so as you're listening to the talks today, think about it in the context of running the scientific method on your pipeline generation. And we call it the HEARER methodology. So essentially, it's a very simple methodology, but simple but not easy to do. And this would take you a lifetime to master, but at least we can start today. And we can start to plug in some of the tools and the different techniques that people go through into this simple formula. And can you guys run the countdown clock for me? I just want to make sure I stay on time. Number 1, hypothesize, experiment, analyze, report, examine, research, and repeat. Okay, so what does that all mean? Obviously, everybody knows the scientific method, but how do we apply that here? And how do we set up the team to follow along with that? So if you think about it, right now, you're experimenting with different things, you're running different programs. Some things are working, some are not. I heard cold calling's a good thing. I heard maybe we should use video, and maybe we should download more contacts, and you're just sort of running along this treadmill. But instead of that, you really want to focus on what are the results that we're looking for. Who's going to be in charge of delivering those results to senior management? Who's going to be managing the program over a 90-day period using the scientific method? And then who's going to be implementing it, obviously? And usually the way that we set this up is we throw everything onto the manager. You're going to be writing the copy, you're going to be evaluating all the tools, you're going to be hiring the team, you're going to be coaching, you're going to be just doing everything. And then we hire a bunch of SDRs to go out and implement that. And, you know, sometimes there's great results, hopefully. But more often than not, it's like, what are we doing? You know, are we actually moving the needle forward? And so what we have seen, and where it's really evolving, and probably a lot of people in this room have set it up where you have someone who's obviously in charge of the results, which is the overall management of the program. You have to have implementation. There's got to be somebody actually doing the job, but also blending in the operations component, the enablement component, to ensure that you're running continuously. And so it's a different way to organize the team to ensure that you have those results. So I'll give you some use cases. Okay, so for example, you learn that, cold calling might potentially work in your industry. But then you go online and you go, well, cold calling's dead, or cold calling works, or this guy uses cold calling, but they don't use it. What do we do? In the usual thing, it's like, well, you try some cold calling, see what happens. No. Our hypothesis is going to be that cold calling could potentially work in our industry, okay? We're going to experiment with that methodology over the next 90 days. We're going to analyze the results that we start to get, and then we're going to report on them. We're going to examine those results and then do a little bit more research and repeat the whole process for 90 days. You could get to the end and realize, look, cold calling does not work in our particular industry. I used to work in the cybersecurity industry, for example. Anybody who's cold called the cybersecurity professionals? Okay. Maybe it works. I don't know. Run the HEARER method and tell me. Okay. Video. Oh, video. Video is the next thing. I met a guy at a soccer game, at my kid's soccer game. He works at a very large multinational corporation that just moved here to Austin. I won't tell you who. There might be some in the room. He said, video, man. Video's getting me all these great results. You gotta try video. You gotta buy, a couple of the big vendors there. Okay, let's try it. Right? Okay, let's set up a 90-day program. Our hypothesis is we're going to try video. Okay? What's going to be the metrics? How are we going to track that? Who's going to implement it? Who's going to track the whole thing? Who are we going to report to? What are we looking for? We report back. It turns out video is starting to uptick our sales development results by 92%. Boom. Triple down. Let's go back to the top. Hypothesize again. Video works well in this particular vertical. Let's run the HEARER method again. Run the HEARER method again and again. PLG, we hear a lot about PLG, product-led growth. So for example, there's a huge base of people that are like freemium users, or they're potentially, upgrading to higher level packages. What's the methodology that's going to work for them to get them to take a meeting with our sales reps, or to introduce us or broker us into other parts of the account? Okay, let's hypothesize and run the methodology. Events, do they work? Do they not work? Which are the best ones? Let's do a 90-day program and try a few, see where the results are, and repeat the process. And then you have your installed base, which is a huge opportunity for a lot of customers right now, as the economy, at least in the tech industry, is starting to pull in a little bit. There's still a lot of very happy customers out there that would be willing to talk with you and potentially, expand the scope of the project. Let's make a hypothesis. How can we do this without annoying the current install base? How can we do this in a way that really, takes care of the customer and makes sure that we're being respectful? And let's run it through the process. So, I know it's not easy. I know it's, simple but not easy. But this is really the secret sauce of sales development. And if you can run it in a way where, as a manager, for example, you don't have to do everything. Pull in people that can help you to track it over the 90-day period, that can pull those reports together and can help and actually do something with the results to improve your performance. And so when you think about the talks today and what everyone's going to be covering and all the tools that we've brought together, they're all a hypothesis, really. Is this going to work? Let's try it for 90 days and really track it and report back on the results and go from there. So leverage your time here. As Wesleyne said, meet everybody in the room. This is the power players of the sales development industry. Be sure to make contact with everybody while you're here. We've been behind screens for 2 years. We finally are able to connect. Leverage those. And with that, I will give you back to Wesleyne. I'm around all day at the Tenbound booth, and I want to hear about what your progress has been if you're running the HEARER method or some form of that, and how we could potentially help.